Hello, good evening, everyone. Um, Commissioners, staff, our in-person audience, and all the residents who's watching us today. Thank you for joining us tonight. I now call the City of Cerritos Planning Commission regular meeting of Wednesday, February 4th, 2026 to order. Next is our Pledge of Allegiance. For the Pledge of Allegiance, may I call on Commissioner Surti to lead us the pledge. Please rise.
Come join me. I pledge
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Surti. For roll call, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. At this time, I will take roll call. Commissioner Au,
present.
Commissioner Surti, Commissioner Chauhan,
Present.
Vice Chair Javeri,
Yes.
and Chair Reyes.
Here.
All members of the Commission noted as present. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Acuna. Next is public comments and suggestions. This section is reserved for public comment on consent calendar and items not listed on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Verbal comments may be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, subject to the chair extending to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a total time allotted not to exceed 45 minutes unless the chair extends. I now open the public comment. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, I will now close the public comment section. Next is our consent calendar. Item 5 is consent calendar. 5 alpha is approval of the minutes. The minutes for Wednesday, January 14th, 2025, 7 p.m. Planning Commission special meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, may I have a vote, please?
Yes. At this time, a motion was made by Commissioner Chauhan and second by Commissioner Au for the approvals of the January 14, 2026 noted correction for the 26th meeting, the 14th meeting of this year. Electronic voting at this time will be activated. Okay.
Okay,
All votes were received and the motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstain.
thank you, Ms. Acuna. Okay, we will now move to item number 6. That's 6 alpha. On this items, there's 3 items that needs to be reviewed for considerations. Okay, 6 alpha. This is to review and consideration to waive full reading of and adopt a resolutions of the Cerritos Planning Commission recommending that the Cerritos City Council approve vesting tentative track map. And second is to approve the precise plan 2026-1 for development proposal by Millia Homes Incorporated. And next, the third and last is approve a reassignment of housing units between Sites A and Site 7 within the city's 2021-2029 housing elements for a residential development project at 2223 Cabrillo Lane. So having said that, may I have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Reyes, and good evening, Planning Commission. Tonight's item under Agenda Item 7A is a request by Millia Homes Incorporated to redevelop a 1.34-acre site located along Cabrillo Lane with 30 for-sale townhome development units, including 3 affordable, through an approval of a vesting tentative track map and a precise plan. At this time, I will proceed with providing the staff's presentation on this item. After which, again, along with the staff with community development and city consultants are here to answer any questions that the commission may have. Okay. Again, to reiterate, agenda item number 7A is a request for approval of vesting tentative track map number 84686 and precise plan 2026-1 to allow the construction of 30 for-sale 3-story townhome units, including 3 affordable units. The project includes demolition of a 2 existing connected commercial buildings and development of 6 residential buildings with private and common open spaces, on-site parking, landscaping, and site access improvements. For details of the proposal, I would like to direct your attention to the screen for a presentation. As mentioned, the subject site is located at 20223 Cabrillo Lane. The photo here before you is an aerial view that shows the surrounding areas of the subject property, which is generally located east of Pioneer Boulevard and north of Del Amo Boulevard. The site is bordered by Cabrillo Lane to the east, with an adult learning center beyond, and an existing multifamily residential development known as Pioneer Villas to the north within the city, and a commercial center to the west, as well as to the south as the Del Amo Shopping Center. This is an enlarged aerial view that shows the details of the subject property, which is currently developed with the 2 preschool buildings connected by a shared roof, totaling approximately 5,220 square feet. The property also includes 2 existing driveway approaches off of Cabrillo Lane, surface parking, drive aisles, playground areas, and a large landscape area at the rear of the property. The former preschool operations were last completed within June of 2025. This aerial photo here shows the subject property and its current zoning designation. The property is currently zoned Neighborhood Commercial, or CN, as shown in the map. Surrounding properties are zoned as follows. To the east, across Cabrillo Lane, is open space, or OS. To the north is the Area Development Plan 11, or ADP 11, also again referenced as the Pioneers Villas. And to the west and to the south are properties also currently zoned Neighborhood Commercial. It should be noted that the City Council recently approved a general plan amendment and a development map amendment and development code amendment to rezone the subject property to Area Development Plan 18 or ADP 18, allowing for both medium density residential and commercial uses. Again, as you may recall, back in December of 2025, the Planning Commission and City Council reviewed several entitlements relating to the rezoning of 3 sites within the city's housing element to allow for residential uses. One of the sites for consideration at that time was in Site A within the city's housing element, which also consisted of the subject property off of Cabrillo Lane. The entitlements approved by the City Council for Site A, effectively changing the land use and zoning designations from commercial to ADP 18, which again allows for commercial and residential uses, is noted to be in effect come February 11th, 2026. While ADP 18 at this time is not yet in effect today, the Planning Commission's role at this time is a recommendation to the City Council, which is tentatively scheduled for consideration at the February 26, 2026 meeting. At that time, for the City Council meeting and their consideration of the project, the property will be properly zoned ADP 18. As such, this presentation and staff's report has been prepared to demonstrate how the proposed project is designed to fully comply with the development standards under ADP 18, including requirements for parking, landscaping, density, open space, and setbacks. Before you here are site photos to show the existing conditions of the subject property. This photo shows the front elevation of the existing preschool building looking northwest from Cabrillo Lane and the on-site parking area located directly in front of the building. This view of the property is a view looking southeast at the existing front building of the preschool. And this is a view looking west towards the rear portion of the subject property. As mentioned, the applicant's request for the project includes two entitlements. The first entitlement includes the vesting tentative tract map to subdivide the 1.34 acre property for the creation of 30 for-sale condominium units. Second is the precise plan for the approval for the precise plan 2026-1 to allow for the construction of the 6 three-story residential buildings consisting of the townhome units. First before you here is the proposed vesting tentative tract map that the applicant has been requested, again, to subdivide the existing subject property for 30 for-sale condominium units. The map proposes also to remove other site improvements, or to include other improvements, including the removal of 2 existing driveways and the construction of a new central driveway from Cabrillo Lane for the 6 three-story townhome buildings. The tentative tract map also includes emergency access for first responders and the maintenance of an existing 12-foot utility easement along the west property line. The next entitlement under for consideration for the project is Precise Plan 2026-1. Proposed for the demolishing the 2 vacant former preschool buildings and construct 3-story for-sale townhome developments. The slide here shows the proposed site plan associated with the proposed development. As you can see, within the proposed development consists of 6 residential buildings highlighted here in blue to accommodate the 30 dwelling units. The site also includes 3 outdoor communal amenities included in green, as well as various distinct floor plans, which will be reviewed in the presentation. For you here is an enlarged site plan. As shown, the proposed development will include 2 building types distributed across the site. As shown in this enlarged site plan, the eastern portion of the property highlights the first buildings from the project off of Cabrillo Lane, which include buildings 1, 5, and 6. Shown in the plans, the building 1 will contain 7 dwelling units, while buildings 5 and 6 will each contain 4. As shown in this section of its enlarged site plan, the western portion of the property, the proposed development will include buildings 2, as well as 3 and 4. Building 2, similar to building 1, will contain 7 dwelling units, and buildings 3 and 4 will also contain 4 dwelling units each. For you here is the proposed conceptual landscape, which complements the architecture and creates a cohesive, inviting environment with planting along all property edges throughout the interior common areas. As mentioned previously, there are 3 communal open spaces that are as provided. First, a primary location to the northern space with a wood shade structure and mailbox cluster, a passive lawn area to the south, and a lawn and seating area with benches to the east, along with walkways, seating, planting, and hardscape elements throughout the pedestrian areas. The landscape plan also illustrates dense streetscape planting along the frontage, also featuring 36-inch box Wilson fruitless olive trees, accent also by Italian cypress and strawberry trees. Magnolia trees are distributed as well throughout the site to provide canopy and coverage cohesive design. And additionally, tree lines along the western and southern property edges are proposed for screening and buffering from adjacent commercial properties for future residents. Before you here is an enlarged photo of the landscape plan showing the proposed amenities within the 2 communal spaces, Collectively, all the communal spaces will incorporate benches, picnic seating, usable open lawn areas, enhanced landscaping, and complementary hardscape throughout the areas, along with portions of the interior driveways. These features are designed to create inviting gatherings, encourage pedestrian circulation, and add visual interest across the site, contributing to a cohesive and high-quality residential environment overall site aesthetics. Photo here illustrates the proposal for perimeter walling treatments for the proposed project. As shown on the plan, an existing 12-foot-high cement masonry unit wall along the northern property line is proposed to be maintained, while the new 6-foot-high masonry block walls are proposed along the south and west boundary lines. Along with a 3.5-foot-high masonry wall is being proposed with pilasters along the frontage of either side of the main entrance. As it relates to access and parking, the project is designed with a single access point provided by a 26-foot wide driveway along Cabrillo Lane. Each dwelling unit includes an attached 2-car garage, and the internal driveway aisle is designed to serve those private garages, as well as the 12 designated guest parking spaces and the required fire lane for emergency access. Overall, the project provides a parking ratio of 2.4 spaces per unit, with which is fully consistent with the requirements under ADP 18. Also, it should be noted, an independent traffic and parking study confirms that the proposed residential development would generate fewer vehicle trips than the former preschool use, and therefore would not result in traffic impacts to the surrounding areas. Moving to the floor plans for the proposed dwelling units, within the project, the applicant has proposed 3 distinct floor plans for the 3-story units to reflect a mix of building types and unit counts, offering a range of layouts to accommodate varying household needs. The first plan here is floor plan 1, which includes 3 bedrooms and 3 bathroom units, with also an attached 2-car tandem garage, totaling 1,390 square feet in area. The second floor plan type, Plan 2, shown here, will include 2 bedrooms and 2 1/2 baths with an attached standard 2-car garage totaling 1,400 square feet in area. And the last floor plan type, Plan 3, will include 4 bedrooms and 3 1/2 baths with an attached standard 2-car garage totaling 1,928 square feet. All units also include a minimum 60 square foot balcony accessed directly from the living area. On the slide here are the proposed elevations for buildings 1 and 2, which together contain 7 dwelling units. The image on the left shows the east and west elevations, including buildings 1 frontage along Cabrillo Lane. The images on the right shows the north and south elevations, illustrating the unit entry doorways to the north on the side of the building and the garage entrances on the south side, accessed from the internal driveway. On the slide here are the proposed elevations for buildings 3 through 6, each containing 4 dwelling units. The image on the left shows the west and east elevations, including buildings 6 frontage along Cabrillo Lane. The images on the right show the north and south elevations, again for buildings 3 through 6. The slide here shows the proposed colors and materials for the development. Exterior finishes will include 2 light gray stucco colors with darker gray black trimming, as well as the building articulation is achieved through a combination of smooth stucco and enhanced materials, including lap siding and decorative brick veneer at the lower levels and select upper areas to emphasize architectural elements. The roofs will consist of pitched gable forms with birchwood colored composite asphalt shingles. The applicant has provided the proposed materials and paint color board for tonight's meeting, which is also available on the dais for the commission's review. In compliance with design standards under ADP 18, the project will consist of a minimum of 40% of the combined areas of each building's elevations, which will include enhanced materials. Additionally, further articulation as step facades, varied roof lines, and changes in material are incorporated to help a high level of design for the residential development. Before you here are perspective renderings provided by the applicant. This is a perspective rendering facing west from Cabrillo Lane. This is a perspective rendering look southwest. It shows the central outdoor communal open space area featuring wood shaded structure. And this perspective rendering looking northwest and shows the enhanced detailing on all sides of the proposed residential buildings. At this time, I'd like to show a 3D fly-through rendering of the proposed development prepared by the applicant, which will be presented for the Planning Commission. As shown, the 3D rendering shows the entrance of the proposed residential development here along Cabrillo Lane. The video as it flies around to the now north area of the property, showing the entrances along Building 1. And shown here as the communal open space area. The rendering continues to allow for a visual of the central drive aisle to entrances for the garage within each dwelling unit. And lastly, the rendering shows the architectural elements throughout the residential development throughout the community. At this time, I'd like to reference in relation to the project note net loss analysis prepared for this item. First, for some background, as it relates under state housing law and pursuant to Program 9 of the city's 2021-2029 housing element, local jurisdictions are required to comply with no net loss provisions, which require ensuring that housing element inventory continues to accommodate its remaining unmet share of regional housing needs allocation, or RHNA. If a housing proposal within a housing element site proposes fewer housing units by income category levels than what was proposed in the housing element, the agency must make written findings regarding the unmet need and identify other sites that can reasonably accommodate for the unmet need. Currently, within the housing element, for the site located at 20223 Cabrillo Lane, the subject property, the housing element requires that any housing proposal contain 2 low-income units, 7 moderate-income units, and 20 above moderate or market rate units, for a total of 29, as shown here in the table. Further shown in the table, as the proposed project applicant has been proposed 2 low-income units, 1 moderate income unit, as well as 27 above moderate or market rate units, for a total of 30 proposed dwelling units. Because the project does not fully meet the assigned income mix for Site A as identified in the city's housing element, in accordance with state law, staff is proposing a reassignment of 6 moderate income units from Site A to Site 7 for the project site located at 16601 Valley View Avenue. Again, as identified as Site 7 within the city's housing element, to accommodate the 7 above moderate income units from Sites 7 to Site A. The property at 16601 Valley View Avenue is a Caltrans-owned property, which the city is currently in negotiations for the potential purchase for the development of the house for housing. As such, the city would be able to reasonably facilitate the development of housing including the unit reassignment. The total net adjustments of units, as shown here in the table, after this proposed reassignment would be of 0. and the city would satisfy the requirements by the state for the no net loss provisions. Also, this project has been evaluated in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, and the city's EIR guidelines, and it's determined to be categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15332, the Class 32 infill exemption. To support this determination, the city retained a third-party consultant to conduct an independent technical review. Their analysis confirmed that the project meets all Class 32 criteria, including consistency with zoning and site under a site under 5 acres, no habitat value, and no significant impacts relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water, and access to existing utility and public services. The review also confirmed that none of the exceptions under the categorical exemption requirements were met. The full analysis and supporting findings were documented in the CEQA technical memorandum provided as Exhibit 26 of the agenda report. A notice of public hearing regarding this item was mailed to owners and property owners within 500 feet of the subject site at least 10 days prior to the public hearing this evening, as required by the Cerritos Municipal Code. Notices were also posted at the 4 designated posting boards on January 23rd of this year. The staff report and all exhibits were posted as well to the city's website. In response to the notice and the agenda report for this item, staff received 2 public communications, one from the California Housing Defense Fund in support of the proposal, and one from a resident also in support of the project before you tonight. All written and public comments have been provided to the commission and the public for consideration tonight. At this time, it is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission review and discuss the information presented, conduct a public hearing, and adopt the resolutions recommending that the City Council approve the project entitlements for the property at 20223 Cabrillo Lane. Again, as a reminder, these entitlements include vesting tentative tract map, number 84686, Precise Plan 2026-1, as well as the request for the associated no net loss analysis. At this time, this concludes staff's presentation. Staff would be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have, as well as the city's environmental consultant is also here to answer any questions the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Acuna. Do I have any comments or questions from the commissioners? Okay, we have, take this. I'll start with Commissioner Au, and I see Commissioner Surti and Chao Han. So we're going in that order. Commissioner Au.
Okay, just for clarification, I assume the water and sewer infrastructure in that area is sufficient to support 30 new homes, correct?
That is correct. As part of the assessment for the infill exemption, the project was studied to show whether the site was able to accommodate the 30 dwelling units for all types of utilities and public services.
Thank you. One more question. In the agenda item report, there's a section talking about art in public places. So the media homes, they're not going to install any artwork in that area. They're just going to pay some money to the Art in Public Places fund of the city. Is that how it works?
Yes, that is correct. Pursuant to the Cerritos Municipal Code, Chapter 22.94, an art in public programs places has been presented for all projects and over a certain valuation, and this project would be subject to that requirement. So the requirement under the city's municipal code is either to provide a public art piece within the site or contribute to the city's public arts funding to then have the city establish those art pieces throughout the area, including here, some sites, projects have been included as well here at the City Civic Center.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Au. Commissioner Surti.
Hi, I want to know, Amanda, if how does it qualify for low-income housing? What is the criteria?
Thank you, Commissioner Cerruti. I'll go ahead and answer that. The qualifications for low income will be determined based upon state the state requirements and restrictions for low income. There's a formula that the state provides, and that is currently used with the city's current, senior affordable housing. So those limits would apply as well.
Okay. And the second thing I see in the project that is there's no gas; it's all electric. Like if that's correct, right? Okay. And is there a reason for that?
At the time of the public hearing, I will also allow for the project applicant to speak more to the design of that, as it's more of a design question. But in general, staff's knowledge in regards to that, it complies with the more recent California building code requirements. But we can definitely defer also that question to the applicant once public hearing has been open.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Surdy. Commissioner Chauhan.
As it relates to this project, how long do you think it would take to build? What's the time period that we're looking at?
At the time of the public hearing, I will defer that question to the project applicant, and as they have a better understanding of their time frame for specifically for this project.
And the reason I ask that is that the C5 well is mentioned over here. Is there any way to consolidate the construction of C5 or look at the possibility of C5 so that the two construction can go side by side, thereby mitigating inconvenience to neighbors? So that is the reason why I was asking about the time frame.
Understood. As it relates to the property to the north, it is a city-owned property. There are future plans for the city C5 well. However, at this time, there are no specific designs prepared for the well. In that sense, I would assume that the development of the subject site, again, pending the Planning Commission and City Council meetings, that it may proceed for construction prior to the project. But we can also speak to city's engineering division within Public Works to get an understanding of that project.
And the follow-up question to that is that how viable is C5? I don't want to drill another well and find that it's not usable for any other reason. So can we get that analysis done at some point and get so that it then is on the table or it's off the table?
At this time, I direct your question to Assistant City Engineer Jared Lee for more information.
Thank you for the question. C5 was in design, but it's been delayed a couple of years. Is it viable? This well's been drilled in 2001. It's never been equipped, so it's been sitting there. There are issues with, arsenic and manganese, a lot of sand in that area. But during the design, we're going to implement treatment for the water in that area. So we are working on that, but that's the given time frame. Design will be in a couple of years, and we'll go from there.
And one last question. Is this a reclassification of 7 moderate income units from 7 to 1 the best the city could negotiate? Because I'd love to see a distribution of low income, moderate income, and above moderate income in this housing.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Chauhan. So the reassignment is related to more of, in our housing element, the city is required for the specific property to provide a certain number of units. Due to the current market, the project that the applicant proposed, they said we can do this much of affordable housing. So as a result, those units that were not able to be built were then transferred to another site. That is the transfer. This is related to the transferring of those units as required by no net loss of the state.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. Do we have any more? None? Commissioner Surdy, it's your light.
I just want to add that this is a really beautiful development, and I really commend the designer and the developer. That it's a really beautiful. It's going to enhance the beauty of the city, and we're so happy about that.
Let me go back to Commissioner Al.
Yeah, just very quickly, the low income and moderate income units, they're both considered affordable units. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it's just a matter of how much the property, the developers sell them. Rather, there's no structural difference between these units, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. Before we go to public comments, just ask a few questions here. I heard passive lawn. What's passive lawn? I'm just curious. What does that mean?
That's a great question. I can refer back to the landscape plan, but essentially, it's along the corridors that are around the perimeter of the property to also act almost as a paseo throughout the site, a walkable area throughout. But within the communal spaces, there is an open lawn space. So for all the community to use in various ways. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, it's 2.4 space per unit for the parking. So there are 12 guest parking, it was reported, and you have 2 disabled parking also. Does that 2 disabled parking part of the 12 or in addition to?
It is part of,
of the 12.
the total 12 guest parking.
All right, thank you. And let me go back to the reassignment of the 6. So we have -6 in this construction, and we will try to make it up on the Valley View side if for the project, right?
Thank you, Chair Reyes. So, yes, the project applicant is proposing 6 fewer moderate incomes that we need, but but more above market rate units, 7 more market rate units. So, as a result, there will be, based on the housing element, there will be 6 fewer moderate income units in Site A, but in Site 7, the Valley View site, we will add additional 6 units. Then vice versa, there will be 7 fewer above moderate income units in Site 7 and 7 more on Site A. So that is a total net adjustment of 0.
0. So we are punting the 6 to the next developer.
To the other site.
To the other side, to whoever
other
would
site.
develop that, they have to have additional 6.
Correct.
Part of the negotiation. So that's part of the negotiation.
Correct.
You either have +6 here, additional 6, or you can't develop. You're not part of the people who can bid for this project. I mean, is that what we're talking about?
That is correct.
Okay. And I know there was a question about who qualifies for low income. Can you elaborate on that? Because I know some people might be interested. What's the website? Who do they have to go to? Because do we have an idea of what's the state? You say it's a state guideline. Do I have any idea of what's the parameters between 80,000, 100,000, 60,000? Do we have any idea? Or also we can tell the audience on where to go to get that information?
Yes, Chair, I can start a little bit of information, and I may then turn to our assistant city attorney for more. But the types, these households would be dedicated to low income and the 2 low income and then 1 moderate income levels. The income level between varies. It depends on county and at the percentage of the county's median income. So I believe for moderate, it may be 80% of the median income, and for lower, it would be, I'm not entirely sure, but it's set by a state law, the income levels that are that would only be allowed for these 3 units.
Anything to add, City Attorney?
Yeah, so under just the definitions, as Ms. Acuna mentioned, low income would be between 51% to 80% of
Of
what's
the
considered
median of the,
area median income, and there's an adjustment that's made depending on how many individuals are in the household. Moderate income would be between 81 to 120% of area moderate income. And I believe the developer, city staff would have the more precise numbers of what those would break down to, but those are the general guidelines.
Someone said area, you're talking about the county.
Correct, yes.
All right, thank you. And I see you have the light for.
I want to know what are the approximate price of the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and all the different units. So when the developer comes up, maybe you could talk about that as well.
Commissioner Chauhan.
I thank you for this wonderful document, the Cabrillo Lane project, but it caused a couple of little things for me to ask. It has a noise monitoring data, which I like, but does the city possess any such equipment for monitoring noise? And the reason I say this is we have intermittent noise problems in certain neighborhoods. Could such a tool be used to monitor or establish baseline data? One of the problems that I have in my neighborhood, and it's intermittent, we have young people, or it could be any type of person, who decide that they're going to race at 2 o'clock in the morning, creating lots of, and it's intermittent. You can't track it. Could a tool such as that be used to collect data by which council can take some action? And it's not just me. I've talked to other neighbors, another neighbor. These people come, and it is quite annoying. I'm luckily retired. But if I was working, I would be very aggravated to have that screeching noise going on at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. One time I woke up and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'd love to see that technology, if the city possess it, be placed into neighborhood to establish baseline data. Second, as far as the hydrology study, it specified some pipe parameters. Is that based on some data that we have regarding rainfalls versus the climate changes? Would that change any of the pipelines or the requirement that we would have throughout the city?
So first, as it relates to your first question for noise compliance, within the environmental document, as part of the analysis for impacts, the project was studied to see whether during construction and during operations, whether there would be any significant impacts relating to noise to surrounding areas. And there were noise studies that were prepared that did take those measurements and showed that the project would be below a level of significant impact, and so there would be no impacts to the neighbors. As to whether these measurements could be taken to other areas within the city's noise ordinance under, I believe, Chapter 22.80 of the Cerritos Municipal Code does establish noise levels that are permitted throughout different various land use types of residential and commercial and industrial. If it is found that there are certain uses or operations, businesses that are exceeding those noise levels, they would be in violation of municipal code, and they would be subject to those to comply with the city's requirements. If there is such a situation, the staff would ask, as well as the residents, if this is being viewed by themselves, then to report to the city, and we could properly do some testing or moderation of the noise levels within those areas. Relating to your question, I'm sorry, can I ask for clarification as to your question relating to the hydrology study?
So within the hydrology, they actually had a pipe size diameter, and the question came to my mind is that, are the pipes sufficient to handle the water flow? They may be sufficient based on past data, but if one thing I've noticed is the intensity of rain has increased, can we sufficiently handle the water flow?
I see. So I can also bring up our consultant who is in attendance to speak relating to what under the CEQA document, what it's studied under the hydrology report. But as it relates to rainwater, the development would be subject to meeting minimum requirements that show that they can properly maintain stormwater and runoff for even during construction, as well as through the development design itself. And those features have been made part of, have been made part of the design and will be a requirement as a condition of approval to meet those minimum state, local, regional level requirements for the development.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. I don't see any more light. Ms. Acuna, thank you. And staff, thank you for answering the questions of the commissioner. Now, I would like to open this for a public hearing. Do I have any comments from the audience?
If I may, Chair Reyes, I would
Yes.
ask, since there were a number of questions raised by the commission directly to the applicant, if you would allow for the applicant first to speak on those items?
Yes, that'll be wonderful.
Thank you and good evening. Chairman Reyes, members of the commission, my name is Chad Brown. I'm Vice President Planning and Development for Malia Homes. Malia Homes is a private home builder. We've been in existence for about 15 years, and I've been with the company for 15 years since its startup by our company owner. We focus on infill projects, so we try to be very sensitive to the surrounding properties and existing neighbors around that. So that's a part of our initial design concept when we come in. I did hear a number of questions that are related to, Chairman Au, your question about the public art in public places. We do find communities and good layouts and architecture designs with our team. We're not artists, so we'd rather not put something out in front that might be tasteful for us, but maybe not for others. We have decided that we would be moving forward with the payment of the in lieu fee for that. Some of the other questions, Commissioner Surtee, you specifically asked about gas all electric. So it was about 18 months ago, the California Public Utilities Commission changed their regulations and to try to drive out the use of natural gas in all developments. They changed the Title 24 requirements for housing to try to reduce the use of natural gas, which I personally don't agree with. But they made a punitive aspect to it in that when new developments are constructed, we, the developer, have to front all the costs for the infrastructure, for the extensions of sewer, or not for, well, sewer, water, storm, all that. But from the dry utility standpoint, we have to front the cost for Edison to extend into the site, the payment of the structures and so forth. Under the current status that did exist and continues to exist, if you're electric only, there's a subsidy or a refund of funds that comes back to the developer for fronting that Edison then collects over 15 to 20 years of the ratepayers paying their fees. If we were to include gas, there's no refund or rebate coming back to Edison nor to us, and we would face the full brunt, and that would be another aspect that would increase the cost of housing as it gets developed. Prices. The cost of these homes, not the cost, but the revenues for when they go to sale is somewhat, it's a crystal ball for us to have to guess for that. For the market rate units, based upon the desirable community of Cerritos, the smaller units would probably start in the mid sixes up to the eights or so, up for the 4-bedroom units. From an affordable standpoint, the lows, as the Deputy City Attorney mentioned, that it's a formulaic aspect that comes in based upon number of bedrooms that might be in that house, based upon the family size that is looking to the qualified family that meets the income limits, and it's a 45 or is it 55 or 45-year restriction on resale to maintain in perpetuity for the affordability.
It would depend, but typically 45.
I think it's 45 is the standard, correct. And there's a whole nother level, if the city council should approve this, there's a whole nother level, and it's one of the conditions of approval in your package for an affordable housing agreement to be submitted and reviewed by the city and agreed upon by us that would become recorded against the property or recorded against those specific units that are designated for the affordable housing based upon the various income levels. Commissioner Chauhan, you had a question about consolidating the time of construction with C5, with the well. I'm sorry, but we as a private developer, time is money, and the moment that we can get our plans approved, both entitled and approved by the improvement plans and architecture approved, we're going as quickly as we can. Typically, our construction schedule is about 3 to 4 months of ground improvements. In other words, the grading, sewer, water infrastructure, storm drain facilities go in. Typically, some of the rough of the roads might go in, and then we'll start vertical construction. And I believe this is slated to be 2 or 3 phases of construction of the houses. And it's about 8 to 9 months, but there would be an overlap between those. So roughly 18 months, we would think that from the time we start to the time that construction would essentially be done. We still may be dropping in some trees and things like that of that nature at the closing in, but that's typically the time frame. And for the most part, construction noise and so forth associated with that happens at the front end, happens when the concrete goes down, happens when the framers come in, and when they put the stucco on the buildings. Otherwise, it's generally quiet because it's inside and the nails are stop pounding and things turn inside for the finishing touches of the appliance and flooring and painting. I'm not going to necessarily touch on the question about the no net loss discussion of the transfer and so forth. That's something that we have been in discussions with the city for well over a year. Sabrina and the deputy city manager, as well as the city manager, we're all engaged with California Housing Community Development Department, HCD, and they have blessed this from the standpoint of the transfer to occur. In a bottom line, for sale housing, really when it's a private developer that is building for sale housing, it's the ask to provide that affordable unit on a property is a subsidy provided solely by the developer. There's no public agency money involved in this. It's solely a loss for us that we have to make up for. So there is that fine balance of market rate versus the affordable units, because the subsidy of a low unit is probably 60% of the market value of that home, of what we're going to be allowed to sell a low unit for, of what it would cost us. I can get on a soapbox about this. Affordable housing truly belongs in the rental market, because with a lock on it for 45 years of not being able to enjoy the equity build at the same rate as a market rate, the affordable buyer doesn't necessarily get the enjoyment of the normal market raise in equity that would come about with owning a house for 20 years and paying on it. For 20 years, they might have a CPI index increase in what the value is, but it's not market rate, it's somewhere down here. And oftentimes the affordable housing agreements with the city have some sort of a cost share with them as well. So it's not information. I'd be happy to speak further about it, but rental housing is the best place for affordable housing because it allows a reduced cost. Those residents can save money on their own and go out and participate in the American dream as a whole in the free market. Chairman Reyes, you asked about the passive lawn. Essentially, it's an open child play area, some grass to use the imagination. I think we originally had some cornhole games or things like that shown on it. You saw it in the rendering the fly-through that we did. Staff asked to take that off just because it may change to something else, through the process of how the community chooses to use it. But it's essentially a place for kids to use their, imagination, kick a ball with their family, with their parents and things of that nature, rather than being a structured, like our main area that has picnic tables and covered and a buffet table and things like that, so they can have a birthday party out in that area. They can simply walk across. I think there's only one handicap space. You see it as two because it's it's the accessible loading area. It's just on one side, so it's a one ADA space that is provided with it. Regarding the hydrology and the pipe sizes and so forth, it's based on the design, the study, and everything that is engineered is based upon LA County standards of what is used for the size of the pipes. I think it's a 25 or a 50-year storm is what the pipes are designed for to handle. And There's always the emergency overflow side of things that keeps it from flooding to keep it, that if it crests a certain area, it flows out into the public right of way and crests into the street as it's intended. But on this site, we are reducing the amount of runoff that would come out of the site during a standard storm. And we're treating the first flush of stormwater through a modular wetland system that treats the water before it releases back out, before it leaves the site. Did I answer all the questions that everybody had? Any other questions for me since I'm standing here?
I believe so. Is there any other question from the commissioners?
I just want to know what was the thought process on why not make it a gated community?
Well, a community of this size is not necessarily desirable to have gates. But more importantly, from the standpoint of LA County Fire and their access requirements, on a site that is, I believe the site's about 150, 160 feet wide, I believe it's 42 to 47 feet of that would be necessary to create a turnaround and a certain stacking depth off the right-of-way, back of sidewalk, and it really deems the front of that infeasible. If we were on Pioneer, I think it would be much more important to consider gates, but the fact that we're on a local street with very little traffic that's generated, I know many residents that live in gated communities, small gated communities, and frankly, they find it to be quite a pain in the butt, letting guests over and things of that nature, pardon my language. But it's not very conducive to guests coming and things of that nature because who has the code, right? Anything else?
Any other commissioners? Mr. Brown,
Yes,
thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all the comments and additional shedding light to our question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Before I call on our next speaker, I would like to recognize the presence of our mayor in the audience, Mayor Frank Yokoyama. Good evening, Mayor, and welcome. I'd like to call on next speaker is Catherine Pascual from Bubbling Creek Lane in Cerritos. Ms. Pascual.
Hi, guys. I would just like to, do my usual teacher in the community. We need some more family-sized units so that our schools can have students. Plug, but also I would specifically like to say that this area getting some more housing would be great. It has great freeway access. People could be commuters and they could live there. It is leads into a nice residential neighborhood that has a park. I agree that it should not be gated. That would just cause traffic jams on Cabrillo Lane, and it is a pain to go visit your friends who live in gated townhome areas. I like that it's electric versus gas. The induction ranges have gotten good, and we can have great appliances with electric, and we don't need gas. And I am for all housing. I don't think we should get hung up on the fact that some of the low-income units were shifted. I think we just need housing. We have not been building housing, and we need to do that. So, yeah, I hope the fact that a couple of units were shifted from one plan to another isn't going to stop us from approving this. And I have been told that I can share that I am the vice president, one of the vice presidents, the vice president at large for the ABC Federation of Teachers. And as a union, we are also in favor of all things to bring family-sized housing to the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pascual, and thanks to all the teachers who are really educating the children of our community and really adding value to our local community. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? Having none, I will now close the public hearing for Section 6A. Now we're moving to item. Oh.
the matter before the commission tonight.
Oh, I have to-
Under
I have to-
6A,
I have
yes,
to
is
vote.
so staff's consideration for the planning commission tonight is for review and consideration of waive to the full reading and adopt resolutions of the Ceres Planning Commission recommending to the city council approval of vesting tentative track map number 84686, precise plan 2026-1, and the reassignment of the housing units in accordance with the city's 2021-2029 housing element for the no net loss provisions for the property at 20223 Cabrillo Lane.
Thank you, Ms. Acuna. So may I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Javeri. And I need a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Al. Do I have any discussion?
Comment?
Comment, discussion, Commissioner Chauhan?
Comment. I love this project. I really do. It is well laid out. I love the design. It is better than some I've seen that have been tri-level. So overall, the aesthetics, I know the location quite well because of the schools that are there. Love it. I want to see more of it. And I've always been advocating for taller buildings, and finally I see one, and I'm totally ecstatic.
Any more comment, discussion? Seeing none, I would like to have a vote, electronic vote, please.
Okay, yes, again, the motion was made by Vice Chair Javeri and seconded by Commissioner Al for the approval, the recommendation by the Planning Commission to the City Council for approval of the project. At this time, we'll activate the electronic voting. And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, and congratulations to our applicant, Milian, for passing the first step. Because now we have to go before the city council with our full support. Thank you again. Thank you for being here. Item 6B, review and consideration to waive full reading of and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission recommending that the Cerritos City Council approve Development Code Amendment 2026, permitting criteria for body art businesses. May I have a report from the staff?
Yes, thank you, Chair Reyes. Agenda item number 6B, again, is a public hearing item relating to a development code amendment as it relates to the city's regulations regarding public for body art businesses. As recalled, the item for this agenda item was at the last Planning Commission meeting, but was tabled and further renoticed for tonight's Planning Commission consideration to the City Council. Tonight, agenda item number 6B presentation will be given by Associate Planner Mary Balderrama, following which staff will be available to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Thank you, Ms. Acuna. Good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you this evening is a request for review and consideration of Development Code Amendment 2026-1, also referred to as DCA 2026-1. A request to amend Title 22 of the Cerritos Municipal Code related to the location and permitting of body art businesses, including tattoo establishments. At this time, I would like to turn your attention to the screen for my presentation. Prior to 2024, body art businesses, including tattoo establishments, were not an expressly permitted use or permitted accessory use, nor were they a conditionally permitted use within the Cerritos Municipal Code. Federal case law has determined that body art is a form of expression protected by the First Amendment. Based on applicable case law, the city cannot prohibit body art businesses without potentially violating the First Amendment. Rather, the city can establish development standards and regulations that impose reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions for such uses. Therefore, in 2024, the city adopted Ordinance Number 1043, which amended the Cerritos Municipal Code to govern the establishment, location, and operation of body art businesses. Currently, body art businesses are regulated under Chapter 22.33 and 22.46 of the Cerritos Municipal Code. Under existing regulations, body art businesses are currently conditionally permitted only within the Industrial Commercial 2 MC2 zone. The map shown on the screen highlights the MC2 zone in blue. In addition, body art businesses are subject to a 500-foot buffer from other designated uses, including from another body art establishment, a sexually oriented business, a business selling alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption, or any impacted use, such as a school, park, or religious institution. Furthermore, body art businesses are currently only permitted under a conditional use permit, subject to a discretionary hearing process by the Planning Commission and City Council. All body art businesses are required to comply with extensive site development and operational standards in order to obtain a conditional use permit. Following recent case law regarding First Amendment protections, and through consultation with the City Attorney's Office, it has been determined that certain regulations contained within the Cerritos Municipal Code that govern body art businesses may potentially constitute an unconstitutional restriction on free speech and expressive conduct, specifically related to the minimum distance requirements and the requirement for a conditional use permit. All other existing code standards are within the city's regulatory authority. As such, Development Code Amendment 2026-1, or DCA 2026-1, is hereby being proposed to amend the Cerritos Municipal Code to ensure that the city does not potentially infringe upon First Amendment protections as related to body art businesses. Beyond the proposed modifications to the location and permitting criteria, no additional modifications to the code text are proposed as part of DCA 2026-1. Body art businesses, including tattoos, will continue to be subject to a city business license, development standards, and only permitted within the MC2 zone. A public hearing notice for the proposed amendment was published in the Los Cerritos Community News, as well as posted on the city's 4 designated posting boards at least 20 days prior to the public hearing. The staff report and all exhibits were posted to the city's website in advance of tonight's meeting. This entitlement is consistent with the goals and policies within the city's general plan, specifically the land use element. By establishing DCA 2026-1, the city will be able to amend the Cerritos Municipal Code to ensure that the city does not infringe upon First Amendment protections as a result of implementing body art business regulations. This proposed amendment is being presented to the Planning Commission for consideration and, if approved this evening, is tentatively scheduled to be presented to the City Council for consideration on February 26, 2026. If approved by the City Council on February 26th, the proposed amendment will be presented again to City Council on March 9th, 2026 for second reading and adoption, with implementation beginning April 8th, 2026. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review and discuss the proposed entitlement, conduct a public hearing, waive full reading of, and adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council approve Development Code Amendment 2026-1 to amend the Cerritos Municipal Code to allow body art businesses as a permitted use within the Industrial Commercial 2 zone by removing the minimum distance requirement and the conditional use permit requirement while retaining remaining existing standards. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Balderrama. Do you have any comment or questions from the commissioners? I see Commissioner Al and Commissioner Chow. So I'll start with Commissioner Al, Commissioner Chow, and then Commissioner Javeri.
So there's only one MC-2 zone in the whole city of Cerritos, correct?
Correct. It's, oh, go ahead.
South of Alondra and west of 605 freeway, right?
Thank you, Commissioner Au. The city's MC2 zone is located in the location that you had mentioned.
Yeah, I drove around area to see if there were any churches and schools in that area. I didn't find any, but to the east, there's a Cerritos College. To the south, there is Valley Christian, but they are way over 500 feet away from that whole area. So it seems that this distance restriction on the 500 feet distance wasn't really that important as far as educational and religious institutions are concerned. Is that correct?
Thank you, Commissioner Au. The 500 square feet buffer was placed in an effort to just ensure that there is no overconcentration of kind of a similar uses. But as you're correct, that location is quite far from perhaps sensitive uses such as schools.
So on the agenda report, page 2, near the bottom, line 4 from the bottom, is the first expression is expressive conduct. So the body art business is considered, is categorized as expressive conduct. I looked up some case law. There's 1991 case law. It's called something like Barnes versus Glen Theater in 1991, and in that, it's about like strip clubs, and it's also categorized as expressive conduct. So if we allow this kind of business in MC2 zone, can we assume that in the future, maybe other expressive conduct businesses would also enter our city?
Thank you, Commissioner Au. For the purposes of this question, this specifically just focuses on body art businesses and tattoo establishments. As related, there, as perhaps previously mentioned, at the city, we have gotten inquiries from just specifically this use. So at this time, this agenda report tonight will just focus on tattoos and body arts.
Thank you, understand.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. Commissioner Chauhan?
So as it relates to body art, many cultures have that. Even mine, Indians, they have tattoos in certain regions. There are even temporary ones, Mehndi ones. Native American, Pacific Islanders, African American groups. So why was this regulated to this degree? Unless you had some sort of study to say, why would you put a 500-foot limit? Is there some correlation between having a body art and an alcohol establishment? And my mind wanders to when 1970s were around, the concept of body art was associated with motorcycle gangs. That is no longer the case. Most of our students have them. We have community members. I dare say most of the military have body art. I'd say policemen, firemen. I don't understand the reason to regulate body art to the degree that it is over here. And as far as it relates to religious institute, I've never met a pastor who objected to body art on a person. I've seen plenty of body art with crosses on them. So I can't see why this language was created in the first place. I find it a total infringement on the rights of the individual. However, does the city or the state, are there any rules? Can the city age gate those places, i.e. 16, 18, 21? Because one of the things that happen is that once you put a tattoo on your body, it is hard to remove afterwards. And I would Not encourage them, but once you're 18, you're entitled to do whatever you want. It is nobody else's right but your own.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. So to the question about the age requirements, so those, so for body art establishments, they are also regulated by the County of Los Angeles. And so to get a business license for this purpose, they also need to provide the county's, they need to get approval through the county, and thus the county's regulations for age restrictions would apply here.
I will add to that, Commissioner, there are state regulations governing age limits with regards to body art and certain tattoos as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. Thank you, staff. Commissioner Javeri.
Well, I don't have any question, but just trying to understand. It mentioned that should the city council pass on February 26th, they will adopt that in March. So why is that? Why wouldn't they adopt that on 26th Feb itself?
Thank you, Vice Chair Javeri. It is I believe, a state requirement for a 30-day implementation period for code amendments. So it is just a requirement by law to have a 30-day implementation period.
Got you. Thank you.
I would like to open it to the public. Is there any public comments? No public comments. So I would like the staff to restate the motion that we have to vote for.
Okay. At this time, consideration under agenda item number 6B is a review and consideration to waive full reading and adopt a resolution of the Cerritos Planning Commission recommending that the Cerritos City Council approve a Development Code Amendment 2026-1, a request to amend Title 22 of the city's Cerritos Municipal Code relating to locations and permitting criteria for body art.
Okay, you have read the recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Commissioner Javeri. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Second by Commissioner Chauhan. It has been regularly moved and seconded. Discussion? No discussion. Please, electronic voting, please.
Okay. And at this time, the motion to approve the resolution for Planning Commission recommendation to City Council has been passed on a vote of 4-1-0, which one abstain.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, staff, for that presentation. Now we move on item 7 alpha, which is review and consideration of an informational report to the Cerritos Planning Commission, providing an overview of the city's of Cerritos 2025 General Plan Annual Progress Report for submittal to the California Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, LCI, and the California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD. May I have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Reyes. And the item before you tonight under 7A is an informational report. It's an annual report, again, as stated, as required by state law to report to the state's offices for information regarding the city's general plan, as well as including items that also come before the Planning Commission tonight. The report has been prepared for reporting to the state's review. And at this time, staff will give a presentation. The report will be given by, again, Associate Planner Mary Valderrama at this time, after which staff from the Community Development Department, amongst other staff members here across other departments within the city, are present to be able to answer any questions as it relates to the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Acuna. Good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you this evening is an informational report providing an overview of the city's 2025 General Plan Annual Progress Report and General Plan implementation efforts over the past year. At this time, I would like to turn your attention to the screen for a PowerPoint presentation. Under California Government Code Section 65300, a general plan is a state-mandated policy document that provides long-term guidance for a city's physical development, planning, and zoning. State law requires a general plan to include a minimum of 7 elements, each containing goals, policies, and implementation programs to guide development decisions and achieve the city's overall vision. The City of Cerritos General Plan was first adopted in 1971 in an effort to create a park-life community with balanced development and emphasis on high-quality standards and quality of life, with a view to establish goals for early infrastructure. In 1988, the city completed its first general plan update in response to newer commercial, industrial, and residential construction activity. As the city continued to develop, becoming nearly built out in the early 2000s, it was evident that the city had achieved a significant amount of the goals established in 1988. As such, a comprehensive update to the general plan was completed and adopted in 2004, and is the current version of the city's general plan. In addition to the 7 state-mandated elements, the city added 3 additional elements to guide development and address specific needs of the city: a growth management element, an air quality element, and a community design element. A brief description of each of these elements of the city's general plan can be found on pages 2 to 3 of the agenda report. In an effort to ensure that cities, including charter cities, effectively implement general plan programs, the state of California requires all cities to prepare an annual report, providing a detailed summary of its progress in implementing the goals and policies found within its general plan. In addition to the general plan annual progress report, jurisdictions are also required to submit a separate housing element annual progress report to provide an update on the status of the jurisdiction's progress in facilitating housing, in accordance with Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA, requirements. Both progress reports are required to be submitted to the California Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, also known as LCI, and the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, by April 1st of each year. In response to this requirement, the city has prepared its 2025 General Plan APR for submission to the state. This report provides a comprehensive overview of the city's ongoing efforts to implement the general plan's goals and policies in 2025. While implementation is continuous, tonight's presentation will focus on implementation efforts in calendar year 2025, highlighting updated implementation activities within the land use, community design, housing, and growth management elements. For the land use element, there are 3 updates to report. First, the city's zoning code was updated to amend regulations related to self-storage facilities and to establish Area Development Plans, or ADP 18, 19, 20, and 21 in support of residential uses, as well as compliance with state housing law. Second, the Economic Development Commission was established in May 2025, and a draft Economic Development Strategic Plan, or EDSP, is currently in preparation for Economic Development Commission and City Council review and consideration, anticipated in 2026. And lastly, related to proactive code enforcement activities, the city managed approximately 2,400 code enforcement cases to ensure compliance with the Cerritos Municipal Code and ensure proper maintenance of Cerritos properties. For the community design element, the city is pleased to report that Southern California Edison, SCE, in coordination with the Department of Public Works, completed the undergrounding of utilities at the arterial section on Shoemaker Avenue between 183rd Street and South Street in summer 2025. During 2025, the city advanced implementation of its 2021 to 2029 housing element by completing the rezoning of sites A, 7, and B to Area Development Plans, ADPs, 18, 19, and 21 to allow residential uses in compliance with state housing law and Program 12. The city also rezoned a commercial property at Bloomfield Avenue and South Street to ADP 20 to allow commercial and low to medium density residential uses. The city is in the process of implementing an online permitting portal in order to streamline application review, including housing development, with implementation anticipated in October 2026. The city also reports that in 2025, permits were issued for 12 accessory dwelling units. Lastly, for the city's growth management element, the city continues to review emergency response times to ensure an adequate public safety program. In 2025, the average response times for Cerritos Sheriff deputies was 3 minutes for emergency calls, 7 minutes for priority calls, and 23 minutes for routine calls. In addition, the Department of Community Development expanded economic development outreach to local businesses through permitting assistance, zoning guidance, streamlined services, and coordination on business openings, while continuing to support commercial revitalization through the Shop Cerritos website and the Business Spotlight program. As part of the housing element process, the City of Cerritos received a RHNA allocation of 1,908 units, consisting of housing units for each income category. Within the housing element annual progress report, the city is required to report how many units were built in 2025 in furtherance of meeting this allocation. In 2025, the city issued a total of 14 permits for the development of new housing, which will be counted towards the city's RHNA allocation. Among these 14 permits, 2 were for single-family homes, and 12 were for new accessory dwelling units. Of these, 2 ADU housing units have already completed construction and received certificates of occupancy. From 2021 through 2025, the city has issued permits for the construction of 40 new housing units, reducing the city's RHNA allocation to 1,868 units. At this time, as this is an informational item only, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review and discuss the information provided and receive and file this report. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention this evening. I would also like to take the time to recognize the efforts of all city staff members here this evening, including Deputy City Manager Ryan Carey, Director of Administrative Services Drew Schneider, Director of Community and Cultural Services Annie Hyleton, Economic Development Manager Kiana Miranda, Communications Manager Scott Harvey, and Assistant City Engineer Jared Lee. Each of them, as well as their great teams, have been instrumental in preparing this report, and I'd like to acknowledge their efforts in the implementation of the city's general plan programs. With that, all city staff, including myself, Ms. Chan, and Ms. Acuna, are available to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Balderrama, and the staff that supported this report. So I now open this for any comments or questions from the staff regarding the informational item that was just presented. Commissioner Chauhan?
Just one. On the last data, we issued all these permits. Do we know where we stand as far as actual completion of these projects, the total RHNA progress?
Thank you, Commissioner, for your question. As part of the report, we do track all the building activity throughout the city. So as part of this process, we see when an application is first completed, its planning review, at what point it's considered entitled, when a permit is issued, and then when the permit is finalized and considered certified for occupancy.
Okay.
Commissioner Al?
Thank you very much for this report. We see a lot of progress in the housing element, but I was wondering if what have we done in 2025 to attract businesses to move into Cerritos?
I will defer. Thank you, Commissioner Al, for your question. I'll defer to Economic Development Manager Kiana Miranda for input.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So specifically for economic development, in 2025, advancements that were made, the city expanded direct business outreach. We continued streamlined permitting, and we promoted our local businesses through programs such as our Shop Cerritos and our Business Spotlight series, which in 2025 we expanded to include a video series. In November, Birmingham Controls was recognized at our city council meeting, and in collaboration with our communications and marketing department, we were able to work with the business to create a short video to highlight them. And through that video series and through the other efforts and projects, we were able to kind of showcase why Cerritos is a great place for businesses to choose, and other incentives for future tenants or prospective businesses.
Thank you, Kiana. But how many new businesses have moved into Cerritos in 2025?
Yes, thank you for the question, Commissioner. As far as the exact number of businesses, we don't have that exact number. However, we do work again with our communications and marketing division, as well as in collaboration with our city manager's office, to celebrate new businesses by way of a ribbon cutting or grand opening events. Some of them are included in the annual progress report. We celebrated Chubby Cattle, for example, and then any incoming businesses as well. We continue to look to partner with them to celebrate, but as far as the exact number, we do not have that in front of us.
And if I may add, Commissioner Al will be happy to get that number to you. We can look at the number of new business license issued for businesses.
Thank you very
following this
much.
meeting.
And I really like to see more businesses moving into town to increase our city's revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. A couple questions. So it's really, it's nice to see that we are not just having the 7 mandatory guidelines from the state for this plan. We added our own 3, air quality, noise element, and growth management element. So it's really understanding the need of the community. Regarding the growth management element, looking at the description, it's kind of generic. So most cities either have no growth, slow growth, or unmitigated growth. Where are we? Where do we fall into that category?
The city was fully developed thank you, Chair, for the question. The city was fully developed within the early 2000s. So at this point, growth would be likely infill development.
I see.
So considering revising maybe underutilized parcels throughout the city. But I'll defer to Sabrina Chan for further input.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mary. Yes.
Thank you,
Mr.
Ms. Balderrama. Yes, in addition to Ms. Balderrama's response, so this the city's general plan was last updated in 2004. So the growth element reflected the growth of the city at that time. And it is now 2026, and so with the city's kind of changing kind of dynamics, when it comes time for a general plan update, that would we would go ahead and look at the growth element and assess it accordingly at that time.
Thank you. On the 2025, there were 2,400 code violations or enforcement that was acted up on by the city. What are the top 3 violations that's going on in code enforcement?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. I'll defer to Deputy City Manager Ryan Carey to provide his input.
Yes, Chair. Generally, the primary violations that we encounter are paint and the need to update paint. We have fading chip paint on the fascia boards or garage, things like that. Yard maintenance is a big item. And then, believe it or not, we also have a lot of driveway maintenance issues where people have large oil stains on their driveway or dilapidated vehicles that are no longer functioning, things like that. So the 2,400 enforcement permits that we've issued out this year reflect the city's commitment to maintaining our residential neighborhoods. And our code enforcement team is very active, as you can see by the volume of citations that they've issued, in trying to help maintain and ensure that our residential neighborhoods are well maintained.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. I just asked that question so that a resident will understand and know that we are trying to maintain the quality of Cerritos and make sure the paint of the house, your yard work, your driveway is well maintained so that we can avoid all this enforcement violations. Okay, so we don't have to vote on this. We'll just have to file this, right? Do we need? Okay, Commissioner Javari?
I'd like to piggyback on what he mentioned. So, regarding the city violations or code enforcement violations, does the city issue violations based on what they see or only when someone complains?
It's a kind of a combination. So our code enforcement officers are out in the field regularly and they have a pretty good handle on what's going on in the residential neighborhoods. But occasionally we do get complaints or notification from area residents about potential violations that may have slipped past us and we may not have seen. And so we do go out there and reactively address those. But we do like to think that the preliminary enforcement action is proactive and that our officers are out there being proactive and trying to identify issues before they become real problems.
Right, great, thank you.
So what's our next here is just accept this report and file it. Do we need a vote for that?
I would ask you to open it for public comment.
Okay, public comment. Do we have any audience that would like to make comment? Seeing none, I now close the public comment section of 7A. So next is do we need to vote to accept and file this? Nope.
No further action.
So it's just accepted as reported and filed. Okay, going to reports. Item 8 Alpha, reports from designated commission staff and liaisons. Do we have any report from staff?
Thank you, Chair Reyes. At this time, I do not have any report for the commission tonight.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Acuna. And next will be 8 Bravo, reports from Planning Commission members. Do I have any reports from our commissioners? Mr. Commissioner Chauhan.
First of all, I'd like to thank City Council staff. Thank you for hosting the Martin Luther King Day at the CCPA. Well attended, and the message of empowerment and advocacy was heard loud and clear. February is also Black History Month. Please attend any presentation at any location. I have learned a lot about this subject matter from my colleagues at work and family. Some of the first-hand accounting can only be heard from those individuals. So please learn from their past so that we don't make the same mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. Thank you for sharing that. I do believe we're having a Festival of Friendship coming up. Is it this month? So do it this Saturday at the Performing Arts from 11 to 4. And may I call on Ms. Hilton too?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Reyes. You are correct. This Saturday, February 7th, at the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts, the entire community is invited to our Festival of Friendship that is being planned by the Let Freedom Ring Committee. And we will have some welcoming remarks from the City Council at 11 o'clock. And we are pleased that the event is supported in part by a generous sponsorship by the Port of Long Beach. and we will have about 18 different local community groups performing from a variety of cultures. Some really wonderful performances planned. And I would also just like to make a note in response to Commissioner Chauhan's comments. The Cerritos Library has a series of African American History Month lectures planned. So anyone who is interested, please take a look at the library's website. We have some amazing professors coming to discuss a whole lot of variety of interesting topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elsa. I think that rounds up the event for this month for the city, or is there any other event that we need to advertise?
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to also mention that at the beginning of March, Tuesday, March 3rd, the city will be hosting its first ever Water Lantern Festival at Heritage Park. That will take place from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And we will have lantern kits available for the community to make, so families are invited to come and join us. We will have food trucks available with some refreshments for sale. And the lantern kits, people will be able to place them in the water at Heritage Park at the lake. And we will also have some other activities and some cultural performances to celebrate the conclusion of the Lunar New Year celebrations.
Thank you so much. So before we adjourn, I would like again to thank the Mayor Yokoyama for joining us today and all the speakers. Thank you to Catherine Pascual and also our resident who emailed us in support of our Project 6A. So, having said that, I now declare the City of Cerritos Planning Commission regular meeting of February 22nd to be closed. Thank you so much.